Assalamu alaikum and good day everyone. We will start with chapter 9, topics of chapter 9, social processes in the workplace. Uh, so social processes in the workplace, we talks social processes is referring to the organizations. Organizations is actually a living and open system, consists of interdependence group, individuals, processes, technology, and other components. So it's considered living because there are some parts or some groups or some elements in the organizations that make the organization become like more life or consider opens and also life. That's what it says. Organization is a living organizations. It's not meant that organization is like a living or like an animal or like a human being or like a trees that's growing, but it is actually the organization is actually considered is living because they have the elements or factor that consists of comprise of in the organization that actually contributes to the organization as a living system. So the system has a social and technical components. The system in the organization as a system. A distinction can be made between macro, meso, and micro system. So change in one system cause a ripple effects of change in the other system. So basically, change in any of the system can change or can have destructive effects on the other system. So open system approach view organization as an open system with firmable boundaries that actively interact with the environments. So the organization adopts optimal social and technical system. So in the organization consists of social system. So they adopt social system. A social system composed of individuals, groups, and their work relationships. And technical system is referring to the tools, machines, processes, and the techniques that normally been used by employees in the organizations. So that's what is referring to optimal social referring to the social system. Technical system is referring to the technical system that being used by employees in the organizations. So the system view see organization as a macro system, a group in the organization as a meso system, employees as a micro system. So all these systems are interdependent and in constant interactions and responsible for the system output. So the outputs are actually come from these interactions or interdependence with each other. So in the organizations, there are different types of organization. We can differentiate between mechanistic type versus organic style of designs. So fundamental characteristics of any organizational design will influence whether the organization will have mechanistics or organic design. So fundamental characteristics are referring to whether they are work specializations, whether departmentalization, chain of command, span of control, centralizing or decentralizing. So these characteristics will determine whether the organization belong to mechanistics or belong to organic. So mechanistics organization characterized by traditional designs, which are more bureaucratic. The mechanistics organization also is rigid, rely heavily on the function and divisions, rule and procedure. So the mechanistic style of organizations, if in order to differentiate between mechanistics and organic style of organizations, mechanistics rely more on the rules and procedure. So their rules and procedure are very rigid or considered rigid. They are not flexible. So rules and procedures are part of mechanistics designs. Their decision making also are more centralized. So because normally mechanistics have huge number of employees, so their decision making are more centralized. As compared to the organic, they are more flexible, easy change if the organization environment change. This is actually many modern organizations adopts organic style because they are more fluid. Fewer rules that they need to follow, fewer rules and procedure. Their decision making also are more decentralized. So these are more preferred by many of the modern organizations. So organizations design is a process involving decisions about these six key elements. So in order to determine whether organizations consider mechanistic or organics, need to check these six key elements. For example, work specializations. If the work specialization is high, that means the organization belongs to mechanistic. If departmentalization is high, it's also the organization belong to mechanistic style. If chain of command is considered narrow or consider is considered there are only is considered uh, chain of command is referring to the continuous line of authority that extend from upper level to the lower level. So this also can be determined. This also important to determine whether whether organizations belong to mechanistics or organics. And span of controls. If the narrow span of control, normally referring to the mechanistics, wide span of control referring to the organic. Centralization of decision making, we will talk about centralized or decentralized, we talk about the decision making. So centralized decision making normally can be found in mechanistic. Decentralizations of decision making normally being up by the organic style of the organizations. And in terms of formalizations, that's mean in terms of policies, procedures, rule and procedures. So the higher the formalizations, normally the organization belong to the mechanistics, and those less in formalizations in terms of following rules and procedure, the organization that's are more flexible in their rules normally belongs to the organistic style of organizations. So this is actually a little bit detail of work specializations. Work specialization is also called division of labor, where employees are being put based on their specializations or being divided based on the tasks that they need to perform. So tasks are dividing into separate jobs. Employees have to repetitively perform the same job until they become specialists or they become experts in performing the jobs. So this is also called Taylorism, where they have to perform the job repetitively until they become expert in their jobs. So according to Taylorism, work specializations might lead to boredoms because you are doing the same things all over the games. So this actually can lead to you to feel bored, and lack of innovation because you are doing the same things. So lacks of innovations and growth also lacks. So these are considered the advantage of work specializations. However, work specialization could lead to efficiency because if you are doing your task every day the same, you become specialist, you become experts in your task. So you could lead so the outcome actually become more efficient, because you know already the problems with your task. When you are performing the task repeatedly, you become aware of the problem, so you'll be able to reduce the problems, and you becomes more expert, you become more effective in your job. So this could lead to efficiency, could save times, and also could lower training costs, because you are doing your job repetitively, so you understand your job better, so you become expert in your task. So this could lower training costs that need to be covered by the organizations. Modern organizations, however, encourage multitasking instead of just doing the task repeatedly. So modern organizations prefer employees who can do many different tasks at the same time, or like to involve in the teams or work as a team. So they prefer employees who are multitasking and also can work in the team. So employees do not have narrow job descriptions or work specializations. The organization, so employees do not have narrow job descriptions. That means they do not been told what they just basically they do not have narrow job descriptions. Mean they just doing their work, so is repetitively doing the job, so their job description actually are more focused on their work. Actually the organization are more organic. I think this is not correct, because work specializations actually are more popular, more common among mechanistic organizations. But I have to confirm this later, because I do not want to give wrong informations. Departmentalizations is referring to the groupings of jobs into logical groups or departments. So sometimes you go to this department, they have different kind of jobs. So how they group the jobs into logical groups or department is under departmentalization. Sometimes they group the job based on the functions, products, geographic, process, or customer. So functional, normally based on the functions such as sales, marketing, accounting, HR. Products, for example, based on product lines, whether it is clothes, shoes, jewelry. Geography, some of the departments based on the geography area, for example, Kuala Lumpur, Cape Town, London, based on the territory or geography. Process, based on the flow of the grouping jobs based on the basis of the products or customer flow. How the process of the products. And customer, departmentalization based on the customer is grouping job based on the customer, types of the customer and their needs. Chain of commands is referring to the continuous line of the authority. This extend from the upper level of the management to the lowest level of the management, and this clarify who report to whom. So sometimes employee know they have to report to only one manager or more managers. So if they have a continuous line of authority, they will know to whom they have to report to. And this also define the responsibility and accountability of each of the job. Responsibility under change of commands. Responsibility is referring to the one duty to perform the jobs. However, accountability is referring to the response to the person to whom they have to report and justify the outcome of the task to the higher persons, a higher authority. So basically, responsibility is actually refer to the duty to perform the task. Accountability refer to the responsible, mean that the responsible person have to report and justify the outcome of the task to a higher authority. So authority, there is a is referring to the legitimate right that the manager have to make decision, to give direction, and to allocate resources. So those who have the legitimate right, so authority is referring to the legitimate rights. That's to make a decisions, to give direction. If they don't have the right to give you directions, if they don't have the authority to give you directions, that means you do not have to follow their directions. So they have the authority in terms of giving decisions, in terms of giving directions, and also allocate resources.